I have a major update for you on a story about Trump and his campaign, and it's really just disgusting. This update makes this already bad story significantly worse. So, as I'm sure you're aware by now, yesterday it was reported by a number of news agencies, including NPR, which I believe it originated from, that Donald Trump's campaign staff assaulted an official at Arlington National Cemetery who was trying to stop them from taking photos and videos of a restricted area of the cemetery. Only cemetery staff is allowed to take photos and videos of that location because it's where newly fallen American soldiers are laid to rest. And instead of following the rules, following the law that is set out federally, the Trump campaign staff said no. They assaulted this official verbally and physically. Now, that's already bad enough. That's disgusting. Disrespecting our fallen American soldiers just to get a photo, a video for your campaign is already bad enough. But as I mentioned, this update is really bad. So, this New York Times article it came out just moments ago, earlier today, and it gives an update on this story. And you can see it on your screen right now. Trump videos at Arlington stir more fallout after gravesite visit. There's a couple of things, two main things in this story that I want to talk about. The first is on your screen right now. A woman who works at the cemetery, the person that was assaulted, filed an incident report with the military authorities over the altercation, but the official, who has not been identified, later declined to press charges. Military officials said she feared Mr. Trump's supporters pursuing retaliation. Now just let that sit for a second. That's an official who's working at Arlington National Cemetery, where service members and their families are buried. These are people who gave their lives to this country or made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. This person is serving our nation by doing that. She is assaulted by the Trump campaign, attacked, and she is so scared of retaliation from Trump and his supporters that she won't even press charges. She's afraid that her life would be turned upside down, like many people who have been targeted by Trump, MAGA, and his campaign. Is that not just gross? The most revolting thing you've heard today? Doesn't it make your skin crawl with anger that this person who is serving our country, a good person, is scared of retaliation because she's doing her job? That's the Trump campaign, and that's MAGA as a whole. If you disagree with Trump, if you try to do your job and follow the law and do what's right, if you get in the way of Trump, they will come after you. They will retaliate. They will do everything in their power to make your life 10 times worse. This is an innocent woman who's a victim. She is a victim in this instance. And she's scared to get justice because Trump supporters would attack her, go after her family, go after herself, reveal public personal information about her. I mean, it is a representation of Trump. That is who Trump is. That is who his supporters are, many of his supporters at least. And it really is just angering, isn't it? I mean, and that's just one part of this story. That's just one part. I mean, it's ridiculous. So when I read that, I genuinely felt sick in my stomach because it's true. That's a valid fear. You should never be scared of pursuing justice. But in Trump's America, when you're dealing with the Trump campaign, that's the reality for so many people. Really, really sad stuff. But the second part of this story that I want to show you is also pretty stomach churning. So on your screen right now, you can see the first paragraph of the story. The family of a Green Beret who died by suicide after serving 8 combat tours and is buried at Arlington National Cemetery expressed concern on Wednesday that Donald J. Trump's campaign had filmed his gravesite without permission as Mr. Trump stood in an area where photography isn't allowed. So, I mean, there's more to this story. I just want to quickly stop right there and say that, like, to the family, I'm so sorry. Can you imagine having a member of your family lose their life to suicide after serving 8 tours for this country, only to have this felon stomp around for his campaign's benefit. I'm so sorry to that family. I mean, genuinely. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. The story continues. Relatives of Master Sergeant Andrew Marchesano, hopefully I'm pronouncing the name correctly, issued their statement 2 days after Mr. Trump's visit, which also included a confrontation between members of the Trump campaign and an Arlington employee. The former president's campaign took video in heavily restricted sections of the cemetery, known as Section 60, which is largely reserved for the fallen veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan war. The article continues. Sergeant Marchesano died on July 7, 2020, after moving to Washington to begin a job at the Pentagon. He had 3 children, and friends said he had chronic post-traumatic stress disorder from his time in combat. He earned silver and bronze stars during his service. His gravesite is adjacent to that of Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover, a Marine who was killed in the 2021 bombing at Abbey Gate outside the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. The Hoover family, which was the Marine who we were just talking on the latter half of that paragraph, granted permission to the Trump team to film and take photographs at the gravesite. However, and this is the important part, this is the really kind of stomach-churning part, the Marchesano family did not, and filming and photographing at the gravesite for political purposes is a violation of federal law, according to cemetery officials. Yet, Sergeant Marchesano's grave was shown in photos from the visit that were published online. A video, which was posted to Mr. Trump's TikTok account, featuring footage from the Section 60 visit and the gravestones from behind, with narration criticizing the handling of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. In a statement from Sergeant Marchesano's relatives after being contacted by the New York Times, his sister Michelle said, quote, "We fully support Staff Sergeant Darvin Hoover's family and other families in their quest for answers and accountability regarding Afghanistan withdrawal and the tragedy at Abbey Gate." However, she added, according to our conversation with Arlington National Cemetery, the Trump campaign staffers did not adhere to the rules that were set in place for this visit to Staff Sergeant Hoover's gravesite in Section 60, which lays directly next to my brother's grave. Sergeant Marchesano's sister continued, "We hope that those visiting this sacred site understand that these were real people who sacrificed for our freedom and that they are honored and respected accordingly." So again, it really is depressing to think about that. You have this family of someone who served our country. Again, this is the same individual who had 8 tours, unfortunately lost his life to suicide. And the Trump campaign is using that individual's grave and all of the graves around him for political purposes, for political gain. As the TikTok video entails a narration over the photos and videos of the gravesite, just so Donald Trump can score some political points. His campaign's flailing. He's collapsing. The operation is unfolding. And so in response to that, Donald Trump decides to politicize Arlington National Cemetery. And while doing that, having his campaign staff assault and verbally abuse an official who is giving their time to respecting our fallen American soldiers at Arlington National Cemetery. It's sickening. It really is sickening. This story is just a representation of the operation that the Trump campaign has going on over there, where it's, we don't care about anybody except us. You have these graves of fallen American soldiers who did not consent to being videoed and photographed. And Trump and his campaign know the federal laws. They were informed by Arlington National Cemetery officials. And instead of following that law, following the wishes of these families, they said no. They said no, we're going to do what we want. It's always them before anybody else. Trump will stomp on the graves of our fallen American soldiers if it means that he can get a photo op and get some videos for his campaign and post it on TikTok. He's an embarrassment to this country. There are many of you watching who probably either served or have a family member who has served. And I can only imagine the anger that so many people feel. You add this story into the long resume that Donald Trump has when it comes to disrespecting our veterans and our fallen soldiers. He called fallen American soldiers losers and suckers. He asked people, what's in it for them when it comes to service? He insulted John McCain Republican senator, an American hero, a war hero, received medals for his service, said that he doesn't like him because he was captured. Recently, Donald Trump compared the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Congressional Medal of Honor. The Medal of Honor from Congress you receive for going above and beyond to serve your country. The Presidential Medal of Freedom is a medal given out by the President of the United States. They're not the same. They're not even equivalent. Both medals are great. But one is for serving your country, for losing a limb for your country, for dying for your country. And Trump tried to compare them. Let's be very clear here. There's only one person in this race, in the presidential race right now, who cares about our service members, our veterans, and our soldiers. And that's Kamala Harris. Plain and simple. Nothing more, nothing less. It's Kamala Harris. She will take care of our veterans and our service members. Her and President Biden passed the PACT Act. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they won't. They look at them as pawns. We have to remember that going into the ballot box. So I'm sorry for bringing you such a kind of dull story on this video, but it has to be talked about. That's the Trump campaign. That's what they're doing. So anyway, I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe down below. Also drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.